Welcome back. Today I'm going to go ahead and make double vanilla cake. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my butter because I will be buttering and flouring my baking pan. So this recipe calls for 1.5 sticks of butter. So here is 1 stick, and then there's 8 tablespoons and 1 stick of butter. So I'm going to cut it halfway at the 4 tablespoon point, right in the center. And then I can use my remainder to go ahead and butter my pan. So I need to try to do exactly a half. Move this out of the way, sorry about that. So right there. I'm going to set this aside with my other butter. Open this up, set this aside, and then, there we go, set that aside. Technical difficulties. I'm going to go ahead and use the paper off the butter to hold on to it, and I'm going to butter I like to use glass. I'm going to use my butter a glass casserole dish. This is a 9 by 13, by the way. Make sure I get all the little parts here so I don't have anything stick. When my kids were little, I used to have them do this. I always thought that was fun to do. For me, it's like the least fun part of the baking the cake, but you end up with butter on your hands. And then I'm going to take a spoon and a little bit of flour. I need just a little bit more flour. And I'm going to take this over to the sink. Okay. I'm just going to go this way and that way with it. Okay, so I have what people use to put on barbecue sauce and different things, and I use that. I will use it in just a sec to get the spots that I missed and also get the excess off. So I'm going to just go like this and then just gonna brush the flour where it needs to go. Okay, so that's done. Go back to measuring ingredients out. Okay, so then first ingredient is the butter, which we already measured out, so I'm going to put that in. And I have left the butter on the counter a while, so it is softened. So you're supposed to use softened butter. It'll mix way easier if it's been softened. If it hasn't been softened, it's going to take you longer to mix, and you're going to want to cut it up in little pieces and then put it in. Okay, so then we need 1 2/3 cups of sugar. So I have my 1 cup measure. And when measuring out sugar, you're going to want to go ahead and level it off. So I use the back of a butter knife. So that's 1 cup. And then I have a 2/3 cup. And I'll level that off. I'm going to set this aside. We will cream the butter and the sugar together first when we start mixing. I'm just going to set that over there, and then I will get my bowl for my eggs, and I need 2 eggs. Kind of get a paper towel here to put the shells on. 1. 2. And then I'm going to put my vanilla into my eggs. I always put my extracts into my eggs. I'm going to go wash my hands first. Okay, so this is double vanilla cake. So I am going to put 4 teaspoons of vanilla into my eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a lot of vanilla, and I noticed that some of it I got extra, which is fine because it is double vanilla cake. So I'm going to go ahead and scramble that up a little. Set that aside. So we need 3 cups of flour. When measuring flour, you're going to also want to level it off. Use the end of a butter knife, and 1, 2, 3. I got that. I will set this aside, and then the next ingredient is baking powder, and I need 2½ teaspoons of baking powder. Got my other measure wet with the vanilla, so I got this one here, teaspoon, and then I have a half. So I will start measuring my baking powder here. So I use the top for leveling this off. 1, 2, and then I need ½ teaspoon. I have my ½ teaspoon. Oops, I covered this already. Alright. Alright, so that's done, and then the next ingredient is ½ teaspoon of salt. So I already have my ½ teaspoon in my hand. Let's get the measuring cup out of the way. And I'm not going to go all the way with a half because I don't like my baked goods too salty, but you need a little bit of salt to make that baking powder work. All right, so I'm going to take a fork and just pre-mix this a little bit. I like to do that. And I'm going to set this aside. And now it is time to measure the milk. So I need 1 1/3 cup milk. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have a liquid measurer. Find your 1 1/3 on your measurer. I will show you. So here's my 1 cup. Whoops. Here's my 1 cup. Here's my 1 1/3 cup right there. So that's the line I'll be going to. So now when measuring liquid ingredient, you want to get level with your measuring cup. So I'm going for 1 1/3 cups. So I got to keep my eye on that third, and I'll be pouring my milk. And there's bubbles, so of course you have to kind of be careful. And you look, I just need a tad more. Okay, so now I have my 1 1/3 cup of milk. And now we're ready to go over to the mixer. I got all my ingredients, and I'm just going to go over them before we go over to the mixer. So I have my butter and my sugar, and I have my eggs and my vanilla extract, a lot of it. I have 4 teaspoons of vanilla extract, possibly a little bit more. That went over the side, which is fine, because we want a very vanilla-y flavor. And then I have my flour, my baking powder, my salt, and my milk. So I will see you at the mixer. Oh, and by the way, this is whole milk, and the butter is real butter. So now I'm ready to start blending or creaming together my butter and my sugar. And I will be using this. I will not use a whisk, and I won't use a dough hook. I will use this type. I had to grab my splatter screen here, because otherwise it will probably be a mess. I'm going to put this on this side so when I start adding other stuff. So first I will cream together butter and sugar. Okay, let's see how it's doing. I'm going to scrape the bottom. The rubber spatula works great for scraping the bottom, so if you don't have one and you're going to plan on doing a lot of baking, you might want to get a nice butter, I'm looking at the butter, a nice rubber spatula. So this needs to be creamed together a little bit longer. Oops, technical difficulties. Okay, so you know when it's done, when it's getting very clean on the sides, it's not really sticking, and this is the consistency I'm going to show you. So that's the consistency. That is it creamed properly. You have to be patient because sometimes it does take a little bit longer than you might think. So our next ingredient is going to be the eggs and the vanilla extract. I'm just going to pour the whole thing in there. I kind of use the fork I use to make sure I get the excess off a little bit. And then I'm going to mix this up. Okay, so that's mixed up. Let me see if I can have you take a peek here. Okay. All right. So now the next thing is I'm going to be going between the flour and the milk. And so I'm going to start with a little bit of flour first. And put that there, and then I'm going to just pour some milk and then do a little bit of mixing. A little bit of more flour and a little bit more milk. When you get to the end, you might just have to pour it in this way. The rest of the flour. This is smelling absolutely delicious. Now, time to scrape the sides. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more on this side. And it is important, if you can, unless you don't own a mixer and you have to do it by hand, to really blend this well. And the longer you make the blender go on this, the more airy your cake will be. You're actually whipping air into it. Now I'm going to put it on high. Okay. Let's see how it looks. I think it's done. Now this particular cake, just so everybody knows, is more of a dense cake. So it is not going to be fluffy. It is going to be dense, but it's very delicious and it does have a nice texture. It's just not going to be what you would consider a fluffy cake. It's a dense cake. So I'm going to scrape off as much as I can off the beaters, or the beater. And if you have a handheld mixer, that works just fine with this particular recipe as well. For me, it's easier just to use my standing mixer. I use my standing mixer for most everything. I do have a handheld mixer that I love to use for mashed potatoes because it's more portable. And I can get that over to the stove. Oh. And although it's tempting, remember it does have raw eggs in it, so you're not going to really want to lick the batter, even though it smells delicious. So I'm going to take this over and we'll pour it into our baking dish. I brought the baking dish to me. I decided that'd be easier. By the way, when I first started measuring everything out, I did preheat my oven to 350, so it is ready to go. You always want to start preheating your oven when you start measuring things out. That way it's ready to go. You don't want to put your cake or anything into an oven that is preheating because it gets hot really, really fast. So this is where the rubber spatula comes in handy because we're going to need to scrape this. And this is a thicker cake. It's very dense. Scrape it all in here. Now you can put it into pans that are easy to pop out. You could put half of it into an 8x8 and another half into an 8x8 and make a fancy cake. I generally don't make pretty cakes. I make cakes that taste really good. I'm not into the art of it all. My kids, though, used this recipe one time for my husband and I's anniversary, and they put it into a really nice metal tin baking pan, and they layered it and they made it look very, very fancy. So yes, you can do that. This is just the way I personally do it. So, but you definitely can use this recipe and make it look fancy. So the key is, no matter what pan you're putting it into, when you put it in here, you need to kind of make sure you don't want a really shallow side and then a deep side. So you have to just kind of spread it out evenly. That is the key. So this is going to bake for roughly around 30 minutes. I start usually just checking things at about 20 just to play it safe. It seems like sometimes the oven cooks really fast and sometimes it takes longer, so I'm going to pop this in the oven and we'll check on it in a little bit. Okay, so it's been about 20 minutes. Let's just take a peek of what it looks like in 20 minutes. I'm going to kind of pull it out a little so you can see. It is not done quite yet. But as you can see, it's gotten a lot bigger. So I'll probably do at least another 10 minutes and we'll check on it. Okay. I pulled this before the timer even went off. And let's check it out. Oh, not quite done yet. I'm going to put it back in and continue to cook it a little bit longer. And now it's coming out clean. Before, when I looked at it, it was actually still kind of mushy on the toothpick. So it is ready to go. And now I will let it cool down 100% before I frost it. Time to taste test my double vanilla cake, which I'm excited about. I frosted it with dark cream cheese frosting, which you can see how to do in another one of my videos. And here's the cake. I did do a generous amount of frosting on it. Very, very good. The double vanilla makes it taste excellent, complemented by the dark cream cheese frosting. It's very good. Now this particular cake, very good. It is a little bit denser. It is not as dense, as you can see, as a pound cake, but it's a little bit denser, which I like. I like fluffy cakes, but these, you can really take it with your fork and it doesn't fall apart. Sometimes you take a piece of cake and it falls apart, and then you're with your fingers trying to get all the cake. This is a very nice texture in your mouth, and the double vanilla just really makes it taste wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. And those of you who subscribe to my channel, thank you very much. And if you don't subscribe, it is free. And have a great day. Thanks for watching.